And a very good morning to you from Mirador Television, broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in the center of Lewis on the 15th of June, 2022. I am not with you. I am a ghost. I am a spectre. But just for this first little while, Stuart Dolby is here and is ready to come and take his place in the scheme of things, because today's show is hosted by Max Hurd and with Stuart with his expertise in energy backing him up. But Stuart, unfortunately, is subject to the trains, which are playing, I suppose, silly buggers, since they're coming up to. They're coming up to. Should that just doesn't seem to? There we go. The trains are coming up to a strike later on in the week. Yes, later on in the week. And it seems there is a knock-on effect. So poor old Max is champing at the bit. Can't wait to come and get his coffee from Jane, and he's held up. So just for this first 10 minutes or so, you've got me, and Stuart will be with us in a minute or two. And all in all is well with the world, we think. Well, it's not really. The fact is that the headlines are a bit disturbing. They're disturbing to somebody like me because I see things not as others do, but as I do in my own peculiar way. And the headlines. The headlines are that the plan to send illegal immigrants across to Rwanda fell foul of the Court of European Human Rights last night. And apparently, still, despite Brexit, the European Court of Rights can transcend our own court, which has ruled that the transfer is illegal, is legal. So we're in a whole bloody mess this morning with the Rwanda thing. And I hope that Max and Stuart will take a little bit of time to discuss that amongst themselves. The fact of the matter is that, to me, this is a blight on the way that we live. Here we are, supposedly an independent, democratic country, and we are still subject to courts, legal challenges which emanate from other parts of the world and not from our own country. And secondly, we all get terribly, terribly upset. Oh, the ranting and the raving is how awful it is that we're going to send people to Rwanda. Does anybody know about Rwanda? Does anybody know that it has become one of the highlights of the development of the European continent? That it is becoming a modern, industrialized society? No, they do not.
Rwanda's not in Europe, darling. It's in Africa.
Yes, it is. But the issue this morning, Stuart, is that the Court of Europe of Human Rights in Strasbourg has said that we can't send our illegal immigrants to Rwanda on the aircraft that we're standing by to send it. So my point is that first of all, we are not in charge of our own destiny, which I thought we would be with Brexit. But what really bothers me is because it's Rwanda, and nobody knows much about Rwanda except that I've bothered because I've had colleagues there that I've been following it and looking it up. It's become quite a modern democracy, and that's not bad for Africa. But the other day, some newspaper printed the sort of hotel that these people are going to be Captain, you and I should head out for the airport now and say, send that plane to Rwanda, put us on board, and we'll have a nice 2 weeks. And as I understood, it was even free booze. So why are we getting so excited about sending it to Rwanda?
Because it's a disgrace and it's appalling.
What's a disgrace?
What I think you're mistaken is the Court of Human Rights has a global remit. It covers all countries. It's not a question of whether we're in the bloody EU, because, you know, they can nick us, they can pinch us if they want to.
Yeah, but just because it is at the moment doesn't mean that it's right.
But it's nothing to do with the EU.
Yeah,
Look, the global...
But they're in Strasbourg. It's the Court of European Human Rights.
Yes, and that has a global remit.
All right.
It's nothing to do with the EU.
I still don't see that we need necessarily to bow to overseas courts.
Why not?
Why? Never mind about why not. You know, the big problem at the moment is that everybody is coming up with, you can't do this and you can't do that, but nobody is offering alternatives. What's your alternative to these people who are flowing across the channel? Still, right? You are a taxpayer, and you're very careful about how you spend your money, and you're very concerned about energy prices and so on. But a lot of money is going on to these people who, in the dozens and dozens and dozens, are flooding onto the beaches. And we've forgotten about it.
We are the liberal democratic country, and therefore, it behoves us to behave in a very humane way. And these poor people are being shipped off to a place. Now, you might call it a democratic country. I've heard differently from people who've been working there like you, and they get quite nasty over there. And why? It does behove us to look. Our policy is being run by this woman, Priti Patel, who used to advocate bringing back hanging.
Well,
she is not fit for purpose.
All right. Well, whether it's Priti Patel or whatever, but I'm sorry, Stuart, is knowing something about the homeless situation in our own backyard and how we do not handle it, and how we cry that we haven't got the money to do it, and so on and so forth, and yet we very happily, as a liberal democratic community, say we'll spend tons of money looking after all these people that have come in. I cannot see the logical justice of that. I can't see the common sense justice of that.
No, I agree. We are the soft touch.
Yes.
And that is problems. But on the other hand,
I've got him to agree to something.
It does. I don't agree with you. I don't agree. It behoves us to try and find some better solution. But Mrs. Priti Patel is the wrong person. And that's, one of the reasons that Boris survives.
Okay, I've got the camera on you, so you can look at it.
Yeah, right. It's one of the reasons that Boris survives is he's packed his cabinet with imbeciles, and therefore, they do exactly what they're told. And
which prime minister hasn't done that?
What do you mean? When you remember the Wilson cabinets, there was a galaxy of all the talents. He didn't pack his cabinets with imbeciles. They were all brilliant, all of them. Think of who was there. Callaghan, Dennis Healey.
Yes, yes, yeah. It is. It's easy to get romantic about the Wilson cabinet. That was the same cabinet, and Healey went out to borrow money from the IMF and got as far as Heathrow and was told to come back because they wouldn't talk to him.
Well, that's a minor problem, but you're going to get the money eventually.
But you see the passions that these things arise, and to be quite honest with you, is I would rather see something done than just accept the status quo, and the status quo is we do nothing as these people come roaring ashore.
Well.
It's all right. It's your show this morning, so you can just say what you like once you get on.
I think it behoves ourselves to do the best we can. I can't see that sending him off to Rwanda as a solution to anything. I mean, last thing she said, she wanted to put him on Tristan da Cunha, for God's sake. Well, the woman shouldn't be there. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Why is Boris listening to her? Because he knows that she's going to...
All right, but I mean, the woman herself is one thing, but is it a sensible policy to try and shift the people that arrive here on? Now, if the Court of Human Rights, which, as you say, is global, is why didn't they stop these people from leaving France?
Well, that is a very, very good point. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the French should be held to account for this reason. But have they done so? I don't know.
No,
Will
I
they
don't
do
think
so?
so.
I don't know.
I don't think so either. I always look at Macron. If Macron starts to make noises, it's that he thinks that he's onto a winner. If he thinks that he's subject to criticism, he shuts up. He goes away. Have you heard anything from him in the last little while?
No, he's probably busy. Look, about 2 decades ago, I think, the Romanians got the message that we were a soft touch. And they all came over here and all the rest of it. And they were very useful because these kind of people pick the peas in Lincolnshire, right?
Yeah.
And other kind of people drive the buses. They come over here and these people take jobs that we won't do, that the English people or the British people won't do. They don't like it, it's beneath them. And this is actually a fact, it's not my opinion. This is actually a fact that a lot of people...
No, I would accept that. We don't like doing a lot of these things. But the fact of the matter is, are we getting to the situation where if we actually don't like doing it and we don't do it, is we don't get any sort of rewards? I mean, I think, last week pointed out that we had a number of people who would go and check in the whenever you go to get the jobs. Then they go out to the airlines and they get interviewed and they say, oh, yeah, that's very good. And then, okay, go to the second level interview and they don't turn up. 60% of them don't turn up.
Is that right? No,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, this was a story.
Well, look, kids, we now have a travel crisis.
Yes, we
do. Because the people who left are not coming back. What are they doing? They must be finding other jobs somewhere. It's like the boats as well. I mean, now EasyJet, for example, we went up to Edinburgh recently and we got back very safely, but it was absolutely jam-packed when we got to the airport because there weren't that many people able to see us through the security.
Yeah.
And the next day, 200 EasyJets trips were cancelled because there wasn't the people, there wasn't the hostesses, there wasn't the people handlers at Gatwick, and it wasn't there. Why? Why didn't they not get their jobs back? Because they got the jobs elsewhere.
Well, there could be some truth in that. The fact is,
some truth. I don't speak all the truth.
But the statistics put out by the Department of Labour a couple of weeks ago show that we, for once in Britain, have full employment. And yet I can't get through to my bank. I can't get onto an airplane. The trains are going to disappear. If we've got full employment, who the hell are these people who are working? Because half the people that seem to me to be causing the problem are people who aren't working. How do they slip through the statistics?
Well, I've seen there's persistent same people in the bank when I go there, so I don't know what your bank's up to.
Sorry, when?
Well, I go into my bank, it's always the same people. Now, better change your bank, Keith.
Oh.
If you can't get through to anybody, go somewhere else.
Well, but actually, that's another issue. Is you go down directly to your bank, but the fact of the matter is banks have had a deliberate policy in which they have cut down branches. They've taken away even ATMs in villages and so on and so forth on the basis that we will use the internet and phones. All right, if that's the policy, I'm not arguing with the policy, but you've got to make sure that if you say to people, we're closing our branch here, but you can get us online or you can get us on the phone, is that you can deliver that.
Oh, I agree with some of what you say, because I am hopeless at the internet, absolutely hopeless. And I really find it really annoying that every day there's something else you have to do online. I prefer old technology like the telephone. But getting through, you have to take hours to get on somebody who's going to talk to you on the phone. And then they're not much use. They say you can do this online, you say. Well, I say I don't do online. I'm old. I don't know how to do it. And
well, that's one of the flaws.
Yeah.
And I raised this with my guest last Friday, Ian Williams, who's an expert on these things. And I said, by our own admission, I mean, I'll just use Lewes District Council as the example.
It's a whipping boy, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And its statistics show that in Lewes District, there's about 100,000 people. And of those, 50% are over 55. Now, if that's the case, most of those people were a good solid age in 1993 when we first started internet stuff, when Windows first became available. And so actually, like you and I, we've got people who are either not computer literate or semi-computer literate, but the powers that be insist upon doing things online.
You can escape it in the end, but it does take a lot of effort. I mean, for example, try and get your driving license renewed, and it takes an age. And they say, "Oh, go into the chat room." And I said, "Where's the chat room?" They said, "No, it's online, you fool." Chat room? Have you got a room? and so on. And oh yeah. And now, talking about that, I must explain to you my little run-in with EDF.
Oh, right.
Wow, which is most interesting.
EDF, by the way, those people who don't know, is an energy company.
Yeah, one of the big five. And now I know a great deal about this, as you know, Keith. I've been specialising in it for some years, and EDF is part of a big cartel. It's big five now. It used to be a big six, where this cartel could set prices just where they flipping well liked, until the energy cap was brought in, and now, and the companies were making huge profits, paying themselves fat salaries and paying giving money a lot of money to the directors, all at the expense of the consumer, like us. Right now, remember in 2021, the energy cap amounted to 1,977. Martin Lewis kept saying that the energy cap the energy cap is set twice a year, April 1st and October 1st. So on April the 1st, it's going to go up by 700 quid. That put the average 3-bedroom house into fuel poverty because it was 2,000 quid, right? Now, fast forward to the recent times, like 3 weeks ago, Suni Runak, the Chancellor, so we're going to give £650 to the poor people, anybody on pension credit, on that kind of thing, and £400 to every household. And if a person has 2 houses, he gets 800 quid. If he's got 3 houses, he gets 1,200 quid. And next day, almost the next day after all this, the head of Ofgem, the energy regulator, was called to a select committee in Parliament, and he said that the energy cap is going to go up by 800 quid in October, making it close to 3,000 quid. Now that is real fuel poverty for at least 10, maybe 20% of the population. This morning, as I made my way to meet Mr. Keith here, my friend Stanley, I heard on the news that the wholesale price for gas has gone up by 30% overnight. It's gone up to £2 a therm. Before this crisis started, it was £30 a tonne. that means that the energy price will go, our bills will go up even more in October. And I said, right, to EDF, who I'm with for my side, I said, look, I set my tariff at £250 because I know what I'm talking about, right? And I said, I've looked at your smart meter that you've installed in me, and it says that for the 6 months up to June, you have used just short of £500 in energy, a dual tariff. It's about 400 and something for gas and some 50 something for electricity. And I said, look, my bill, as I have a 2-bedroom upstairs terraced house with an attic on the top and a kitchen in the back, and we don't use that much energy. And I said, so I'd like the 75,750 quid back that you owe me. And he messed around and said, oh, we're going to just use your bill up to March as a standard. I said, and that means you only get £108 back. And I said, well, that's very convenient, is it? So I tell you what you're going to do. You can put the £108 in my bank, and I will switch to another provider, and I will take you to the ombudsman and have a complaint against you, which you won't like. Because as I'm a journalist and access to the media, I shall make this well known. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thank you for your help. Well, I should have said, thank you for your hindrance.
Once we've got Max here and you get into full flow on your program this morning, you've got a lot to tell us about the energy scene. But just in a very quickly, when people get hit by £800 or it's going to be even more and they can't pay, what do the gas companies do?
Well, they say that they've got various schemes that they're going to help out. Well, I can't see that any of them work that much. Are they giving discounts? I don't think so. I don't know what that means exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
The only good news piece of news, and I'm going to talk about that in my Energy Matters, is one of the big six was SSE, Southern and Scotland's Power, yeah. And that really good thing is it's poacher turned gamekeeper. It is now transient to a renewable energy company. And after Shell and BP, it is building more wind farms than any other company. So it's phasing itself out of fossil fuels. It did make money in its last thing. Its revenue went from 1.5 million, I think it was, from 1.3 million in the previous year. But they're still paying the chief executive £1,400, 1,400, 140,000. Is that right? £140,000 a year. Okay?
Yeah.
For a salary. So he's not going to be skinned, is he? He's not going to have fuel poverty.
Absolutely not.
No members of the cabinet have fuel poverty. You can depend on that, particularly Priti Patel. She could do with a dose of fuel poverty. Yeah, no, the thing about it is, I think that is a really positive step on its own, and it has still got some gas and some oil, but it's now dwindling, and I think that's a very, very good sign. Well done, SSE.
Right.
One star for
that. Okay, now the longer term energy policy is in a mess. At least it is not satisfying what we need in our community in terms of energy supplies. So where do you see, generally speaking, these any of these countries or companies or individuals who are going to face this sort of thing?
Well, I'm very gloomy about the whole thing, because ever since the 1974 coal crisis, where they moved over to gas, and and the wretched Thatcher actually privatised the whole lot. It's been systemic failure of all governments not to have a proper energy policy, and they haven't got one now. They don't know. They're floundering around what to do. I mean, Sunak giving all that money to Peter to pay Paul, it's crazy. It's madness, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
Yes, it is.
It doesn't do anything any good, because next year, what are they going to do for money? It's only a one-off.
Incidentally, just as a side issue, the headline in your favourite newspaper, in fact, your old stomping grounds, the Financial Times, is about cryptocurrency, and that there's been a big plunge in the crypto market. Any comment on that?
Yes, it's just like the 15th century when the main currency was daffodils. Do you remember that? Do you remember that story?
I thought, did I remember when daffodils were? No, I didn't. I don't remember that story. Recount it.
Well, they used to use daffodil as a currency,
right?
To buy things and so forth and so on. Never mind that the daffodils are largely spills. I mean, I don't get it myself, but when I was doing for the Guardian, actually, I was writing about alternative investments, and I used to go to all the shows about, you know, and people used to use daffodils as currency. So they are using, you see, like, it's like anything. Like gold really wasn't useful for much things, so they had to give the dollar some kind of value. How would you give it value? So you put the dollar against gold. Because, you know, the US dollar is worth so much gold, right? Right. Yeah. And that means you've got a currency, a value to your currency. But with Bitcoin and the other ones, other pseudo currencies, they haven't got anything backing it up. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah. So US dollar to the gold, you know, is worth what, 35 ounces of gold or something like that. Yeah. I think that's what it was back in the day, wasn't it?
So the cryptocurrency really is a standalone. It doesn't have anything.
No, it doesn't. It is not supported by anything. Yeah. You know, and it's just what people will buy it for.
Yeah.
You know, but then it doesn't have any standard to you know. It's just this sort of. It's not a real currency, in other words.
Yeah. I mean, I've always treated it as being very complex, and the lure get rich quick is. I've never ever subscribed to that. I've seen more people come unstuck.
Well, it's actually because it doesn't. What value is it? You know, is it worth so much silver, or is it so much? You know, no, it's, you know, it's what these things like gold and silver, what their value is. So you've got to have a sort of value for the dollar and for the pound.
Right.
I mean, for example, we used to call a dollar $4 to the pound, wasn't it?
Yes.
So if you had half a crown, which was a quarter of a dollar, that's where we got the word, you know, a dollar from. So, you know.
Right. Okay. Let's just save our tonsils, because 9:01. We've been rabbiting on for half an hour. Let's go to our favourite park, shall we? And just rest our weary bones.
Encounter with my great friend at the weekend,
No, tell me about that.
Well, at the speakers conference in Lewes
Right.
over the weekend, Sandy Gall was speaking.
Ah, right.
Pushing
Yes,
his
no, it's a
book.
good story about Sandy Gall.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you know, but Sandy and I were both war correspondents in Vietnam. Well, we were both war correspondents in lots of places, but Vietnam stands out in my memory because we when towards the end, when the Americans lost, the American journalists were forced to leave because the CIA had told the ambassador that there was going to be a bloodbath in Saigon. Well, there wasn't. There had been a bloodbath in Da Nang, the northernmost point, but when it came to Saigon, there wasn't a bloodbath because the spies in Saigon had told the North Vietnamese that you've won. You've won. You don't need to have a life. You've won. That's it. It's over. And so the British the journalists were allowed to stay on if they wished. For some reason, I suppose my paper thought, well, at least they might get rid of him, you know. And anyway, we were left for in Saigon with sort of what we're going to do. Well, Barney managed to get from the British ambassador just before he left the keys to the embassy and their club, and so we were playing badminton, swimming in the pool, and they had left a job lot of Carry On films, and we used to play them on a Sunday night, and it was really quite funny because there it was, we're bombing to hell. And Kenneth Williams comes along and said, "Oh no, Colonel Clan Van Trier, you can't go on bombing us like this." Anyway, I said to, after 3 weeks, we got a bit bored with this, and I said to Sandy, "Look, we're all getting fed up. I think you ought to become chairman of the escape committee, and I will be deputy chair of the escape committee, and get us out of here." So after another week, after Sandy had very posh voice, said, General Van Trier, I wonder when you're going to let us go, because we really are getting a bit bored with all this. And anyway, they flew us up to Laos. And the real end of all this, really, basically, was that I was one of the first undergraduates at Sandhurst University, and I had a whole loads of friends there who had gone off to America to make their fortunes. And one of them, Michael Butler, had sent me a telegram to, I think, in Laos. I've got it, actually. I could show it to you. It's a nice piece of pink paper. And in those days, there was no internet, and they used to have to speak in very short language because it was paid by the word. So it says, Finantimo, FT, go up, go Uganda Woods for that. And anyway, so I got this cable, said, "Is it true that you got pissed and fell asleep?" And I said to myself, "Yeah, that bit's true." And then the Viet Cong were knocking on your bedroom door the next day, and I said, "Well, that's not true, but what a wonderful story." Well, I think we'll go with that version.
Right, Uncle Max has turned up.
Yes, the trains were very delayed this morning.
Were they? Well, right. Okay, we did a big fanfare, and Max dashed off. I suspect that because of the frustration, he says that the trains are very, very delayed this morning. I suspect that he has had a tough time getting in. And you know what happens is, you know, which bit builds up when that happens, and then you have to dash for the bathroom
Oh, look,
when you get in.
You haven't remarked on my sartorial elegance.
Well, I
Now, the thing is, loads of people have come up to me and say, I like your hat. I said, oh, I got it up the charity shop. Don't worry about it. And people are coming up to me and say, where did you get that T-shirt?
Yes. No.
And it is about the Pell's Pool, you see.
Right.
And I said, well, I got it quite a long time ago. They don't make it anymore. Oh, they said, oh dear, I'd love to have one of those. And I said, well, you know, I started talking about the Pell's Pool. I said, you know, when visitors come, and I say, oh, it's supposed to be the oldest pool, open air pool in the country. I certainly the bloody well coldest. Actually, I'm being unfair because now that they filled in the cracks, it's warmer by about 1.5 degrees. So the whole thing about the Pell's Pool, it does show that I am actually a Lewis loyalist, doesn't it?
Yes.
I'm not going to go to Saltdean for my little swim.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not at liberty to say what Stuart supports and what he doesn't, but he is a bit of a philanthropist. And in fact, there's something you were telling me about yesterday that is going to be coming later on in the season, and that you have supported. Now, remind me what it is.
It's called the River Festival.
That's right.
And it's got at Star Gallery, Star Brewery Gallery. They're going to have an exhibition of painters of rivers and so forth. This is really a part of a movement against what Southern Water and other water companies are doing to our rivers. So there's going to be other kinds of events and so forth. And I was happy to sponsor this at some expense, but never mind. And I think I'm very looking forward to it. It is in September, so watch out for it, because the way that Southern Water is behaving and dumping bloody refuse in the sea, and because it's now been taken over by Australians, they don't know about our little rivers and things, do they? So that is really what people might like to look out for.
Now, for some reason, these damn security things, it suddenly popped up and is there. I've managed to get rid of it.
Now we've got a more savvy IT person just arrived.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. And indeed, today's co-host with you. So I'm going to. I'll only be next door.
Keeping your eye on us.
Absolutely.
I know you want me to stop actually shagging off old Pretty Patel, don't you?
It's actually, with a name like Pretty, sometimes I think we should put up misnomers.
Yeah, pretty awful. Pretty disgusting.
Actually, by the time we finished with all our hosts, with our likes and dislikes and so on, you would think there's nobody left to run the country.
Well, there isn't nobody else left to run the country. It's not being run; it's being bloody misrun.
Right. Let's just find something to play, so that right here we've got something called January, and it goes back to what we did in the very early days. And Max can come and he can sit in. Hang on a minute. That's what I want. Right. This is our a monument which we decided to adopt as our logo at the Battle of Lewes. It's on the site of part of the Battle of Lewes in the Priory Park in Lewes, and it shows the day that a spark of democracy entered into the English psyche and which, in many ways, when you think about it, is if that hadn't happened, it may never have happened around the world. All right, come on, young Max, come and sit in, and she's all yours. Now, I hope that you can use one of your phones for that.
What's the website called?
Sorry?
What was the website called that you get the headlines from?
Just papers. BBC papers, yeah.
All right.
BBC papers.
Yeah.
Newspapers.
Yeah,
John,
I just have to tap in papers, and it comes up with the front pages.
I'm stressed out today.
Are you?
Yesterday, after I left, all hell broke loose.
God, he's about as right. Max is about as right wing as you are.
Hang on, chaps.
I'm going to have a bit of a struggle actually.
Oh.
Seeing.
All right, we're back. Hello. Sorry, I am late today by, yikes, 42 minutes. Whoops. So this morning, the bus and the train were both late. There was a car crash near my house,
Oh,
and then the
God.
trains were also late.
This wasn't part of a strike or anything.
Huh?
Wasn't part
No,
of
they
it.
were just late. I don't know why. It just happens sometimes.
No,
So this morning I'm stressed out. Here now, everything's all right. What have you been? What's the headlines so far of the morning?
well, as far as I'm concerned, with my interest in energy, so I woke up this morning and the news said that the energy price has spiked by 30% overnight.
What?
It's gone up to £2 a therm. Now, when a
What does
crisis,
£2 a firm mean?
well, it means it's gone up. Back in the day when the crisis started, it was 30p a therm. So it's
Back
going
in
up
the
by
day.
30%. That's an awful lot. Now, at a time,
Overnight.
yeah, overnight. There's some bloody great explosion in America or something, and there's another energy crisis somewhere. Maybe it's Qatar, I don't know. But I think there's been two great big things which would very impact by global supply. And that's what's happened. But I wouldn't be totally clear because I was half awake. But and that, we've been talking about this such an awful lot, and we'll do more in my program later. But just briefly, the situation now is as messy as it's ever been. And I in the past, I've told you about all these cartels that run up and so on. But the latest situation is that recently Sunak said that we're going to give £650 to every poor person. That's people on pension credit or other benefits. And each household is going to get £400. Now, if somebody's got two houses, they're going to get £800, and you've got three houses, they're going to get £120. Right. Next thing you know, the head of the Ofgem, which is the government energy regulator, was called to a select committee in Parliament, and he said that the price is going to go up on October the 1st, because the energy prices determined every 1st of April and 1st of October,
Right.
by 800 quid. Now, if you remember back in the day, in 2021, the price, the tariff for an average 3-bedroom house was 1,277. Martin Lewis and myself, if I may say so, said there's going to be a spike of about 700 quid in April 1st, and there was, taking it to the average tariff for 3-bedroom to 2,000 quid, putting people in energy fuel poverty. A lot of people, poor people, into fuel poverty. Now they're talking about 800 quid. That's a tariff of 3,000 quid. That's real energy poverty for you. What are they going to do about it? Bugger all. But
I live in an average 3-bedroom house, 4 people, 1 adult, 3 teenagers.
yeah.
So our prices are going to go up by how much would you say?
Well, I agree.
Since,
That's-
overall, since the beginning of the pandemic.
What?
So in the beginning of 2020, what were the prices of what was the average monthly price?
Well, what? Beginning, let's say when the beginning of 2021,
Okay.
it was about 1,000. Then it went up by 2,077
A month.
a year.
Oh yeah, okay. I was
Yeah,
going to say
1,277 in 1921. No, 1920. Right, that was the average price in 2020. 2020, right. And then Martin Lewis said on April 1st, 2022, it was going to go up by 700 quid. Now they're saying it's going to go up by 800 quid. So that's 800 quid on 200, that's 2,800, nearly 3,000 quid. Who can afford that?
certainly not an average house.
Most people in the cabinet can afford that.
Everyone in the
I'll say this later for my energy matter story, but I've just had a big run-in with EDF. Do you want to hear it now, or should we save it for later?
Yeah, we'll hear it now because after this we've got a guest coming in, so we'll talk about it now then.
Right. Okay. Well,
actually, before we go into that, I found a story from CNBC, which perfectly sums up my generation and millennials.
Yeah.
This article here says 50% of millennials and Gen Z aren't prioritizing saving. And that may actually be smart, experts say. Now, that's quite a headline. And it is true. Most millennials and Gen Z aren't saving their money.
Of course they're not. That's a well-known fact for a long time. Because a lot of people can't afford to, apart from anything else, because they take that out of their wages and the wages are diminished. But there was always going to be a savings crisis in this country because young people are not saving money.
I'm trying to save as much money as I can. I usually put £20 a week aside.
Yeah.
And put in I have a jar that you have to have a tin opener to open. Yeah. Do you know those?
Yeah.
That you put your money in?
Yeah.
So
the penny jar it's called, yeah.
Yeah. But you have to get a tin opener, so you can't just open it and be like, I'll take £1 out. It's a proper one.
But as a matter of fact, yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, so I'm trying to save my money as much as I can, but I don't think 55% of Gen Z millennials aren't saving that money. I don't think that's true. I think it's more like 70%. I know very few
I think
people.
young people, I happen to know, apart from energy prices, another thing about his pensions. I was actually on the papers, member-dominated pension trustee. And so I know quite a lot about pensions, and I'm fortunate enough to have 60% of my wife's as well, so I've got quite well. But people always say, what is best, pensions or property? And people will say property. Well, the fact is that property has only got one dimension. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You sell the house, but a pension has various dimensions because a pension is comprising various different investments.
Mm.
So let's say you're invested
It's also a stable income. It's not all at once.
No, but I've got a final salary pension.
What does that mean?
Well, it's what your pension was when you left the company, right? By which time you were your maximum earnings.
Oh, what, from the Financial Times?
Yeah.
Because you worked there for, 38 years?
36.
36.
So the actual final salary pension, which has almost disappeared now, because it's now based on the average. So you're paying what you used to earn when you were halfway through your career.
So
right?
Hang on. Do you get two pensions? You get your Financial Times pension and then the government pension.
I get that as well.
So you get two pensions.
Yeah,
well.
I know, and also now the Financial Times has a very unusual one in the sense that you can leave 60% of your pension to your wife. You can't leave it to anybody else. Right? I can't leave it to my children or anyone else. My wife, Stephanie Gray, unfortunately, sadly, died, and I got 60% of her pension, and her pension was fully funded. That means she paid right up to the end. So I got 60% of that. And I had a long pension, but I did have a little break when I was seconded to a magazine, the FT part-owned in Hong Kong, called the Far East Economic Review. And I was able to write for other people and so on. But it did actually affect my pension.
Hang on, that's 60% of the pension that you got from your wife. Was that a specific her company thing, or is it a general?
No. I don't know that many pension schemes do that, but the Financial Times does.
Okay.
I think it's unusual. I wouldn't be totally sure. But so that means, I've got 2 very good pensions, which is very nice. And also I get a state pension. And I've also got various annuities. So as
you invest in stuff as well, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I invest in renewable energy companies, which most people don't do, but I know which ones to pick. Anyway, I said to 2 of my daughters, I would do it for the 3rd one, but she was in America, so she can't do it. I said, look, what I'm going to do is, I think I should get pensions for you. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, Einstein said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the modern world, right?
Right.
And they said, what are you talking about, Dad? And I said, well, look, if you wanted a pension of 30,000 quid, right? If you put £100 in a month when you're in your 20s, you would meet that target. If you left it to your 30s, you would have to put £250 in a month to make that target. If you left it till your 40s, you wouldn't meet the target. Therefore, what I'm going to do now is set up a pension for you with my financial advisor, set up a pension for you, and I will put £100 in until such time you're able to do it yourselves. My 2 daughters got very good jobs, but didn't get paid very much. My middle daughter is an environmental scientist, and my youngest daughter is a care worker works in a refuge for battered women. And so they, I'm getting some return on my money anyway, and they're doing good things. And they are now in their 30s, and I'm pleased to see they still got the pensions. And I say to people, that's probably the best thing you could have done for them. And I think it probably is,
Apart from maybe give them a house each.
I've done that as well. Well, the bank where my wife died, the Bank of Dad has given all my 3 children, 2 are in their 30s and 1 is in their 42. I've got houses because I gave them to them. And my friend said I was able to do it because I said, look, they said to me, look, the house in London, you could have rented it out and made a fortune. Instead, I divided it up and gave it to them. And it was worth quite a lot because it was in London, in East Hampton, actually. And I said, look, I've always made enough money to do exactly what I want and go exactly what I want. Why should I not give it to them now and avoid this pernicious inheritance tax, which is a threshold of only £360 now? And if you put a house worth over that, you're subject to a 40% tariff unless you bring in a deed of gift. And that means I've got to live 7 years for them to get it, the inheritance tax free.
And you've already done this, right? Is the 7 years already up?
They are on my Scottish house, but I've got to do one on I've done it on the other 2 houses, but I haven't done it on the one Lewis I have here. I still have one here in my house in Lewis.
Are you going to do one of those?
Well, I'm just speaking to the lawyers this week.
Okay, so to do that, you have to live for another 7 more years.
Yeah.
At what age can you do that?
Whenever you like. Really.
Oh, whenever you like.
Well, you've got to have retirement age, obviously.
Okay, right. Yeah. So you have to be at least 67, I guess?
Well, I've got, what am I, 77 now? Got to live to 184. I keep telling my doctors my mother lived to 100 years, and they said, oh, really? I said, Uncle Bill lived to be 98, and Uncle Bill lived to be 101. I think my chances were right, don't you? They said, yeah, I suppose they are.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, I keep saying to my new wife, my great friend who I've known for 50 years, I've never smoked.
Never.
Never.
Wow.
In fact, I'm just writing my memoirs about my time and stuff.
How often do you drink?
Oh, most days, but not to excess. I don't think. I used to, but I don't drink to excess.
I think most people do when they're my age, though. So that's
Well, absolutely, yeah. But you can take it at your age.
Yeah.
It's a bit different as you get older. You know, can't really consume that much.
well. I don't know. Let's see what other stories there are. I had another one lined up. Oh, you were gonna do something about energy, and you're running with EDF.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that briefly?
Well, yeah. I mean, as you know, and I know. Well, we'll talk about it later on, but just briefly, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go on till
Yeah.
9:40, and then we'll take 20 minutes break,
Yeah.
and then at 10 o'clock we'll start the other show,
Yeah.
and we will have a special guest.
Okay.
On.
Yeah. Right. Now the thing is that, okay, I go with EDF slightly against my better judgment, but I thought I would bewitch them a bit, and I said, right, I'll have put my tariff up to £250, right?
Right.
Because of all these the energy mix, so forth and so on. So I had that, knowing that it's far more than see. I've got a terraced house, 2 up, 2 down, but I've got an attic on the top and a bit on the back. So we don't actually use that much energy. It's not like your house where you all come in playing cute games and
That is what we're doing.
and you know you haven't got a dad, but your mum sort of wants to put the kettle on or that.
Yeah. We use the because the electric is getting quite expensive. We're only using the hob for kettles.
Right.
We have an old-fashioned whistle kettle.
Oh, you see, this is what the fuel poverty is about, isn't it? And anyway, so we don't. I looked at my smart meter, okay, and it said for the first 6 months, energy. I think the gas was something like 4 something, and the electricity was 50 something. So it's about 500 quid, right? I've actually paid since June. Let's think, 4, 6, 1,500, right?
Right.
So I phoned them up and I said, I want some money back, right? I want some money back, and they said, okay, fine, yeah. We can only do it on your March care account. Just your March account. We can't do it until June. I said, well, why not? I said, no, because we do it by March, right? So of course, by March, it was nothing like. My bill was nothing like 500 quid. It was more like 200, or something like that. So they said, we can give you £108 back. I said, but you just told me I'm 750. I'm 500 or something, 750 in credit. So we can only give you back that. I said, well, why? He said, oh, that's what we do. I said, right. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch to another provider and go and speak to the ombudsman and have a go at you. And you won't like that, will you? But the saving grace is that my colleague Green Barrel has just said one of the big cartel. There used to be 6 companies, who were putting prices as near the energy cap as they could. One of them, SSE, has now, I'm pleased to say, one of them, SSE, has become a poacher changed into gamekeeper, in the sense that they've become a renewable energy company. And I think this is rather good because they've now got more wind farms after Shell and BP.
Who owns the wind farms off of Brighton? Do you know?
Yeah, Rampion.
Rampion. Who are they connected to? They're
a local one.
Oh, okay.
They're a local one. It's actually based in Worthing, and but I can tell you a story about them if you like.
Go for it.
Right. Okay. When you have a wind farm now, you or a nuclear plant, you have what's called a contract for difference. That means that the company has a deal with, say, in Rampion's case, the government, about what price they should have, right? And they have what the contract for difference is if the price goes above the agreed price, the government has to pay the difference. If it goes below, the company has to pay the difference. It's a contract for difference, right? That worked very well with wind farms because the price never went below. You know, they never had to pay the price because it never went below. It always went up. But with gas, you have to pay the price because the gas price is always going up. Right? Are you still with me?
Yeah.
But that's what happens now. But Rampion didn't have a contract for difference. It had what's called a ROC, which is something that preceded it. The ROC was a renewable obligation certificate that you could buy, right? So at that time, ROCs were going at £50 per megawatt hour, right? And you got, if it was offshore, you got 2 of those, that's £100. And they also had £400 for buying the gas. That means their gas is £140 a megawatt hour. That makes it one of the most expensive energy companies in the country, let alone in Sussex.
Well, the one based in Worthing, is that?
Yeah, Rampion it's called.
Rampion.
You can see it goes from Brighton to Worthing, doesn't it?
Right.
I was in Worthing really recently, and I could watch the storm blowing these things, and I thought, Jesus, people are paying. You know, not many people know that. You know, as Michael Caine would say.
What is the best form of zero carbon energy? Because wind turbines are okay, but sometimes it doesn't wind, and solar panels are all right, but we're in England and it only works during the day.
Look, intermittency is the problem with renewable energy.
What do you mean intermittency?
Well, the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah.
For example, last year, in June, right, the wind didn't blow. So Boris went up to Drax, which was a coal power station, and asked if they could put the coal back on. He put, he's supposed to be got rid of it by 2022. And then when he had his strategic document,
Just like they're going to get rid of all petrol-powered cars by 2030, just like that as well.
I'll tell you. Do you want to hear about that?
I know all about that, yeah. But
Right. Okay. Now look at our wonderful district council. Right.
wonderful.
I went to a sustainability meeting in 2019. Okay, and they said, yeah, we're going to have zero carbon emissions for the district by 2030. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? And they said, look at Ovesco, for example, which I'm an investor in. And they say we're going to plant so many, in those days, we can have so many windows on top of the roofs, and that would bring so many carbon emissions reduced, okay? And why are you going to do it then? So we're going to install lots of electric points for cars, and we're going to plant trees. And 2 years on, do you know how many electric charging points, public charging points there are in Lewes?
How many?
8.
In the last 2 years, they've got 8.
2 years. So yeah, that gets the district council for it. And the people who run the climate change side are totally incompetent.
Are they just in it to get a cushy job?
No, they're just local councillors who don't know what they're talking about.
Probably, no, I'm saying, are they just talking out their asses? What I meant, are they just sitting there for the cushy job?
Well, yeah, they don't get paid, do they, councillors? But they do have expenses.
They don't get paid.
They don't get wages.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but they get expenses and other little things. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, they all think they're doing.
What are the expenses cover? Like,
I don't know.
Because I know there's been.
I don't know. I'm not a councillor.
I don't know, because I know there's always every so often a controversial thing in the newspapers, and it's like they're using their expenses to like buy a brand new £100,000 Mercedes or whatever.
Yeah. Because they need to get to in a hurry. Yeah. I don't know. I have no confidence in the district council and their dealings. I mean, I am a very, very green person, but I couldn't vote for the Greens because they're managerially incompetent, and they really are. I mean, you look at various things, like that thing that the Eton College owns on the Downs. They abstained in the vote for against it. Well, what's that about? And then they talk about, if you look at their update of their what they're doing about all this thing, it says we are looking at the possibility of actually having electric charging points. What 2 years on? What the hell is this? And also, they actually talked about what was the other thing that was absolutely unbelievable? That they were going to actually decarbonise all council houses.
That's
Well, how are they going to do that? I mean, because air-fueled heat pumps, they're 10 grand for starters, let alone the rest of it.
Would you say you're an energy expert?
Well, I'm not the kind of expert that. Yeah, I would. But
Not the kind of expert that runs the council.
Well, no, I'm not on Martin Lewis League, but I do know a great deal about it because I've.
What is the best way to decarbonise all of this then? Or if it is even possible in the first place?
Well, you find alternatives, which are basically are air fuel pumps or underground heat pumps, or other kind. There must be other kind of things, but they're the two main things that people are talking about, and they are offering subsidies for the air fuel pumps, about 5 grand or something like that. But still, that's a lot of money for somebody, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw recently. I found it a bit disgusting, but a town in Wales is trialing for climate change. They're trialing new school meals for children in schools to decarbonise the meals. The children are now being served bugs. Bugs, yes, because cows and stuff produce a lot of carbon, whereas bugs don't. So there's a trial in a town in Wales to feed the students bugs exclusively as a meal replacement.
Well, that sounds bonkers to me, but
it does. They want you to
eat up your bugs. Yeah.
Eat your bugs and live in the pods. Is their agenda.
Well, you get all kinds of things, you know, doing this and doing.
Like the burp tax we spoke about yesterday.
The whole point about this energy thing is storage. Okay, once you crack that, then you're there. But not being able to store energy is a blight because we haven't got enough of it. But there is tremendous strides being made in battery technology. I mean, I met somebody yesterday who was talking about battery for his car, where he can get more than 600 miles. Where the actual lithium-ion.
What car does he have?
I don't have a car.
No. What car did he have?
Mercedes, I think.
Okay, I'm not sure if that was entirely true. The 600 miles that he said. Because I know a lot about electric cars.
He had some kind of hypercharged bloody battery. I know that. Right. And I said, really? You can get it for... Because the actual lithium-ion battery doesn't have the kind of density necessary to go a long way. A hydrogen car does have the density, but then, of course, Elon Musk has taken a jump in front of the bloody hydrogen because, he's got the whole thing going where the hydrogen is still in its sort of experimental stage.
He's probably one of the people that has done a huge deal for helping climate change. Yeah. Even if people don't like him, you got to admit he's done a excellent job in especially for someone like me who's a car enthusiast, making electric cars interesting. People really
he's also he's got all these tiles, hasn't he? That can do energy savings, and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So it's solar panels. They're in the shape of roof tiles. Yeah. Do you want to round off on one final point before we head off? I just realised the time.
No, I think that's about it. Yeah. So anyway, I'll let you know how I get on with the ombudsman.
With the what, sorry?
The ombudsman.
Okay.
You see, when I deal with these people, it's very useful. I mean, I left the staff of the Financial Times 20 years ago. But if you Google me, I still come up as the Financial Times.
Yeah.
So when I was dealing with a guy who runs British Gas, he's not there anymore. And his name is Ian Conn. So I actually...
Ian Conn, that's a hilarious name.
Hang on. I wrote an article. I can't think, maybe it was for you, for this one, saying, the appropriate name, Mr. Conn, has again made a complete mess of it. So he threatened to sue. And I said, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Don't want to appear in the Financial Times, do you? And then,
And he backed off. Nice. All right. Well, we will be back in hopefully about 15 to 20 minutes, we'll have a guest on, Darren from the Give Street Project, which is a charity to help people in lower income communities, sort of like a food bank, but once every couple months. So we will see you in about 20 minutes with our guest. Stay tuned. Thanks.